So in this video, we'll try to understand what makes us the way we are. So that question might not make sense, but let's say if you were to ask yourself, who are you? The first answer would be to come up with all kinds of labels per se. Maybe if I were to ask who I am, I will come up with things like I am a software developer, um, I like working out, I have a hobby of playing the piano. Recently, I picked up on the hobby of making videos and a number of things. That list keeps on going. But if you think about it, these are very specific to the circumstances that we are in right now. Because if I were born maybe 10,000 years before, this won't be who I am. And those circumstances would kind of define who I am maybe 25 years down the line or 27 years down the line. So, what we can kind of conclude is what we are is an amalgamation of our experiences from the point that we are born till the point that we are now. So that's what, right? So, and what we believe we are kind of dictates how we will interact with the world in the future. So another thing that's interesting is what your brain is meant for is to keep you alive. So what your brain optimizes for is survival. It doesn't optimize for happiness. It doesn't optimize for contentment. Those are not the brain's responsibilities. It just optimizes for survival, and it does it pretty well. And that's why you are seeing this video right now, right? But when you think about other organisms, they don't have to worry about these things, like they don't have to worry about self-esteem. They don't have a sense of self. Their only objectives are to survive and reproduce. That's all. But humans have something very different than other organisms, and it's something called the default mode network. So what is the default mode network? So what the default mode network does is it helps people form a meta level conclusion about who they are, and the purpose of that is very evolutionary, in a sense that when you live in tribes, if you know what you are good at and what you are not good at, you focus more on the things that you are good at and less on the things that you are not good at. So in a way, you are contributing more and saving energy, right? So that's what the purpose of self-esteem in a way, or the default mode network is. It forms meta level conclusion about yourself so that you can navigate the world better. Now the problem that happens is it is judged by the circumstances that you are thrown in the planet, or in the circumstances that you are born. Thrown in the planet is not a very good term, but whatever. So anyway, so when you are born as a kid, you don't know anything. You just know how to cry and you just know how to shit. Those are the only two things that you are born with, right? And then one fine day you touch the hot stove and you know, okay, I should not touch because it's hot and it's supposed to harm me. And then something else happens and you learn something else. And maybe, let's say, growing up, you were told that you are a kid with a lot of potential and you are gifted and so on. So those are also the things that we internalize if we are told that those things a lot of times, and maybe you scored really well in exams as well, right? So eventually this person will grow up and those kind of beliefs are solidified in a way, and what the brain will do is they will use this meta assumption to kind of navigate the world and take the future actions. So whatever you believe about yourself, your future actions will depend on whatever you believe about yourself. And when you say belief, it's basically the meta level conclusion that your default mode network makes about you. And these are usually meant for speed, right? So when you are in a certain situation, you have to know how to react because that's important for your survival. So let's say you grew up as the silent kid per se, and you have this maybe cached scripts in your brain that runs in certain situations. Let's say you are in an elevator with someone and you just start looking here and there automatically without even consciously doing it, because it's an automatic response or a reaction to that particular situation. And That's what your brain came up with depending on whatever experiences you have faced in the past. So that's what the default mode network does. It comes up with very meta level assumptions about yourself, and those assumptions kind of manifest as the things you do in the external world. And why it's important to know this is, or why I decided to make this video about the default mode network today is, in a way it feels kind of empowering, right? So if you know that this particular reaction of me to this particular situation is coming from these particular experiences that I can trace back to maybe some experiences back when you were a kid or something, now you can kind of be more compassionate to yourself and maybe tell your brain like, okay, I understand that you came up with these rules back then to enhance my chances of survival, but now it's not really turning out to be helpful. But if you don't know where it comes from, it builds up this eventual sense of resentment, like, okay, I don't like the way I am, what am I doing here, why am I this way, why am I born with this? And it kind of takes away the sense of agency from you in a lot of situations, and then you just accept, okay, this is who I am, and you kind of accept that you are your ego. And when I say ego, it's like these kind of things, right? So ego can be positive, ego can be negative. Ego can be like, I am socially awkward. Ego can be, I'm a software developer. Ego can be, I am this, I am that. Everything with every sentence that you can come up with that starts with I am is somewhat kind of associated with your ego. So this is what determines how you are the way you are. And if you don't like a few things about it, if you know how it works, you can kind of understand where it comes from. You can kind of understand what led you to this particular situation, why your brain is doing this, and you can kind of take it in the direction that you want. That's a different discussion, but this is maybe a starting point for that particular objective in a way. So the takeaways of the videos are, your brain has this capacity to form meta-level conclusions about yourself. As you grow up, as you experience more things, it will build up your sense of self or your sense of ego, and that will determine how you react or engage with the external world. And the purpose of the brain is to only keep you alive. Its primary objective is survival. So it will only optimize for that. Happiness, contentment, these are not the purpose of your brain. The purpose of your brain to keep you alive, and that's what it will do. And when you perceive the things that you do in the world from a perspective of how is this enhancing my chances of survival, depending on whatever circumstances have been in the past, things become a lot clearer and you gain a lot of clarity on things. So yeah, I hope this video helps. If you have any suggestions, I'll add a link in the comment section, or sorry, in the description section. I took it used to this. And there, if you have any suggestions on a video, or if you want me to do research on maybe some personal experience that you faced or some topic that you want to know more about, feel free to drop your inputs. I would love to make more stuff like this. And yeah, that's what. Thanks. I hope you have a good day.